Are you considering government contracting and wondering where to focus and what to do first? Well, your first step is to put together a target list of about 3 to 5 prospects who buy what you sell. In other words, start by finding your first customer. Because ultimately, your company's success is going to be driven by your ability to build relationships, and you don't have time to build relationships with everyone. Fortunately, there are 4 free tools you can use to build your prospect list, and I'm going to show you those tools in this video. First, I want to show you this because this is where I differ with a lot of the other business advice I've heard. Here, I'm on the website USASpending.gov, and I've looked up all federal government contracts in 2021 ranked by agency, and you can see that most of it, by far, is at the Department of Defense. DoD spends a lot more on contracts than the other agencies. And I've heard lots of advisors look at that and conclude you should focus on the DoD because that's where the money is. But I want to encourage you to not ignore the smaller agencies. There are hundreds of different agencies and offices in the federal government, each with its own procurement organization, and every one of them is big enough to give you a sizable contract. I have a friend who has a great business he enjoys, doing work for the U.S. Agency for International Development, and that agency is so small that most people have never heard of it. But the agency's budget is still big enough to give out lots of contracts to lots of companies like the one owned by my friend. Bottom line, I want you to find the customer that's right for you because the government isn't your customer. First of all, because the government isn't a single organization. It's not one thing. The government is a collection of hundreds of different organizations. But more importantly, your customer is an individual human working within one of those individual offices. So your first step in government contracting is to figure out which specific government offices to target and then to identify those humans so you can start building relationships with them. So where do you start? Well, I recommend you start your research by looking at past contract awards. And the reason is that lots of government contracts are bid over and over again. For example, say you have a janitorial company and there's a nearby Forest Service site. You may find they have a janitorial contract that they rebid every 3 years. And you can find out all about that contract, who won the contract, what's the dollar value of the contract. You can see who the buyer was and when the contract will expire, so you can target that contract for when it comes up for rebid. Okay, so let's go over those free tools you can use to build your prospect list, starting with the primary source for federal government contract data, which is FPDS. The website is FPDS.gov. You can use FPDS to find out which government offices buy the product or service that you sell. Also, how much are they spending? When are they buying? How many contracts are they issuing? How often are they issuing contracts? Which contracting vehicles are they using? And even how much competition is there for each contract? You can also enter the name of your competitor and see all of the contracts they've won and the amount of each contract. And you get all this information at the level of the individual contracting officer making the purchase. FPDS will even give you a name and email address for a buyer for each contract. I recommend you start your search with a keyword search or a search by your industry using your NAICS code. For example, a janitorial company could search for the keyword janitorial. Then, unless you offer something really specialized, I recommend you focus locally. And the reason is, it's much easier to build relationships when you can just drive to meet with someone. So I recommend starting by searching the area within driving distance of where you are. FPDS is a terrific resource, and the information is all free. However, unfortunately, the website is really clunky to use, and that's why I made a video that walks you through step by step how to mine data from FPDS. So be sure to check out my link to that video in the notes below. Now, let's look at USASpending.gov because it's another free government tool you can use to find the agencies that buy the most of the product or service that you provide. You can do a search by keyword or search by your industry using your NAICS code, and you can narrow your search down to your specific state or county. Let me walk you through how to do this. I'm at the website USASpending.gov and I click on Start Searching Awards. On the sidebar here on the left are all the filters that you can search by. So let's say you have a janitorial company in Montana. For keyword, I'm going to filter by janitorial. And then for time period, I'm going to select the last few years. For award type, I'm going to click on contracts and contract IDVs. And then under location, I'm going to filter by the state of Montana. I click Add Filter, and then I click on Submit Search. And now we see the results here on the right. Now look at these tabs we have along the top here. They're used to present the information in different ways. The Table tab gives you a list of the awarded contracts that match your search terms. Now click on the Categories tab, and you get this graphic that lets you see the spending broken down by agency. But I think looking at spending by agency is too big. The Department of Health and Human Services is huge, and it's made up of lots of different sub-agencies, and that's the information you want. So click on this Sub-Agencies tab to see the spending broken down to the sub-agency level. And here we see the biggest spender is the National Institutes of Health, followed by the Air Force and the Forest Service. So go ahead and do this search yourself and find out who are the biggest purchasers in your area. The next website is one you're going to use a lot as a government contractor, and that's SAM.gov. This is the website where the government posts bidding opportunities, and you can search by lots of different things like the procuring office, your industry, a keyword, and your location. And you can also search to find upcoming industry days and other networking events. And these events will give you an opportunity to meet with buyers. There's a lot of information on this website, so I've made a video that walks you through how to search it, and I've put a link to that video in the notes below. Also, lots of federal agencies post procurement forecasts online at this website, acquisition.gov. For example, they might tell you we're going to issue a contract for environmental consulting services every 3 years. So you can check out the agency procurement forecast when you're researching potential upcoming contracts. Oh, and one last thing. While you're doing this research, you'll not only be identifying promising customers, but also identifying promising partners, because the same research tools I showed you to find your customers will also show you who your competitors are. And remember, competitors are also potential teaming partners. So here's what I recommend. Watch my video on FPDS and then spend a week or two poking around the data and put together a list of 3 to 5 prospects that you want to target for contracts. That way, you'll know where to focus your energy. Hey friends, post in the comments below and let me know how it goes. I love seeing your progress. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time.